Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so your name is Simra, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Osho and I will be going to be your tutor for A-level biology, I guess. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, I just got your book downloaded, the Pearson one. Okay, so before starting, I would like to tell you that I have taught many A-level students, and the main problem that they face is with the assignments and all the test kind of things. Okay,
Yeah.
so what I'm trying to tell you is like we will study all the concepts that are given in your book, and then we will try to like instead of mugging it up or instead of what we say memorizing everything, we will go on basic concepts, and those concepts will help us to solve those questions, right? So like that's my way of teaching. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, it's actually a good idea, instead of memorizing, because once you memorize and then you would end up forgetting
Yes,
it. But you
like
have the
you
concepts
keep
in mind.
forgetting
Yeah.
it with the way of time, but if you understand the
Yeah.
concepts, that will last longer with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like
Yes.
do you have any topics in your mind, like what you are trying to get out of this book or this biology book or something that you feel difficult? Have you read this book, or like this is the
Yeah, I
starting
have.
of there?
But one thing is that I'm not very dependent on the books usually. Even for IGCSE, I was never like dependent on the book. I mean, just for some concepts and all of that. But usually, I used to get the concepts from some notes or tutors and all of that online, and then I used to implement my stuff on past, not past papers first, like topical based questions. Then when the base is made, then I used to start papers and all. So, but we can
Okay.
start with maybe membrane, cell membranes, proteins, DNA, gene expression, like that topic we can do
Okay.
like for this session. But yeah, so you have taught students in this what's it called, syllabus, Pearson at Excel A
Yes,
levels.
yes. Like
Yeah.
I
Mm.
think the syllabuses are almost same. Just every writer has a different way of writing or different way of explaining
Yes,
things.
yes, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
for Cambridge, I think
the books
there's
are
different
like
papers. Yeah.
yes, the books are similar. The content is somewhat similar, but written in a different language, or you can say in a different way, more appealing way, more
Yeah.
presentable way. Okay, so if I am going to start, like let's start with, I would say, okay, let's start with membrane system because today's our demo class, so we can do it according to you. So you have a basic idea about
Yeah,
cell
just I
membrane.
just picked a random topic, or if you want to start with another one, it's fine.
No issues, no issues. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so we are going to start with what we call as our cell membranes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now if we talk about cell membrane, can you tell me any organism which doesn't have it?
Uh, I believe all organisms do have a cell
Do have
membrane.
a cell membrane, yes. So
Yeah.
you can say
Yeah.
this is the universal membrane,
Yes.
right? So all
Yep.
the living organisms will have your cell membrane. Okay, now this can be the outermost layer or this can be the innermost and the only layer. Okay, it's
Yeah.
always like, see, this is your cell membrane. Okay, and this will
Yeah.
cover your cytoplasm, right? This jelly like
Mm.
substance is what your
Yes.
cytoplasm,
Cytoplasm. Yeah.
and then the layer outer to this is your cell membrane. Okay, so now this is in the case of an animal cell, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now if you move to plant cell, what else do you see?
In a plant cell, there is a cell wall present.
Yes, there will be a cell wall present, right? If you are moving to bacterias, can you tell me about bacteria? What else is present?
In bacteria,
Yes,
bacterial cells, there's like
they also
plasmids.
have a
Yeah,
cell wall.
plasmids.
No,
Yeah.
no. Plasmid would be
Uh,
different. They have a capsule.
uh,
Remember capsule,
Capsules.
right? So if you look at a bacterial cell, your bacterial cell will look somewhat like triple layered. Okay, where your innermost layer is your cell membrane. Okay, this is your cell membrane. The second layer is your cell wall, and then above the cell also you see a capsule. Okay, now why I'm trying to take you to the different layers of cell is that you have to understand the concept of membranes. So basically,
Yes.
the term membrane. Okay, what is a membrane? Can you tell me what is a membrane?
Membrane.
Yes.
It's like it's a barrier that allows some things to pass through, but then it stops some particles to,
From
like, it
entering.
stops some particles and it allows some particles to pass. Kind of
Yes,
like that.
right. So you can say that your membrane is like a filter, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
this filter
Yes.
can be a kind of, you can say, muslin cloth, right? The everyday
Yeah.
uses that we do in our kitchen with the help of a muslin cloth. Or you can say
Yeah.
any type of animal membrane is basically what? A type of filter. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are going to study about this cell membrane. Now why is this cell membrane so important? Okay, if you are talking about
Mm.
cell wall, let's talk about cell wall also. If you are talking about cell wall, you do not have to study much, because see, cell wall is what? Cell wall is freely permeable. It's called freely permeable membrane.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, because it does not have a selection criteria. It will allow
Yes.
everything to pass. Okay,
Yeah.
because this is basically everything to pass, and this is actually dead. Okay,
Yeah.
they are not living. So cell wall is dead, so
Yep.
it cannot filter out things that much. It can only filter out on the basis of what you can say, on the basis of molecular size. Okay, like the water
Yeah.
molecule is small, so it can go in, but a sugar molecule is large, so it cannot go in. Okay, but it cannot do like only the water molecules will pass, and the some molecules which are close to the diameter of water molecule will not pass. It cannot do that, right? So cell wall
Yeah.
is freely permeable membrane which allows everything to pass. They are basically dead. And you can write a very interesting point about this also, that this cell wall is like, okay, I told you about the dead. This is sclerenchymatous. Yes, this cell wall has
Yeah.
only two components. It can be either cellulosic, okay, made up
Mm-hmm.
of cellulose in the case of plant
Yeah.
cells, okay, or
Yes.
it could be chitinous. Remember this. This could be chitinous in case of fungal cells. Okay,
Yeah.
so in the entire five kingdom classification, you see only one chitinous what cell wall, and which is only and only present in which? Fungal cell.
Single
Okay,
cells. Yeah.
got my point? And the
Yeah.
very basic thing, if someone asks you what is cell wall made up of, you can very easily say cellulosic cell wall is present in plant cell, but chitinous cell wall will be present in your fungal cells. Got my point?
Yeah.
So okay, so
Yes.
now you have an idea about the membranes. Now when we are talking about this cell membrane, why is this so important? Okay, now the another term for this cell membrane, you might have heard of this. Cell membrane is also called as semi permeable membrane.
Yeah.
Ever heard
Hmm.
of this semi permeable membrane?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
now what is permeable? Any idea about permeable, this term?
Permeable is yeah, permeable. Permeable is that it allows like anything to pass through it,
Yes,
like
so see,
liquids or gases. Yeah.
semi-permeable term is derived from the term permeable. Okay, and permeable
Yeah.
is a term which is used to, you can say, to determine the quality of a filter. Okay, so
Hmm.
permeability could be of three types. It could be freely permeable, like as we study
Yes.
about our cell wall. Okay, it could be selectively permeable, or you can say as semi-permeable. Let's write this as selectively oblique semi-permeable. Okay, and
Yeah.
it could be impermeable.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so like impermeable, you can talk about resins. Ever heard of resins
Yeah. Yeah.
that come from the
Uh.
plant? The
Yeah.
rubber plant has got
Yes.
a lot
Yes.
of resins. So if you
Yes.
like go on analysis with a resin, the resin is very sticky thing, right? So if you got a resin
Yes.
layer over any part of a plant, the water will not leak from that side. Got my point? The modern
Yeah.
adhesives that we use, the Fevicol or anything which we use to stop water from going anywhere, any kind of adhesive, that is a kind of resin which could be or could not be plant derived. See, today in modern life, we have got a lot of artificial adhesives. So I cannot say that all these are derived from the plants, but this basic concept was derived
Yes.
that if a resin is present somewhere, you cannot pass through. So that type of membranes are called as impermeable. Got my point?
Impermeable.
So when we are
Okay.
talking about our semi-permeable membrane, we call them as
Hmm.
selectively or semi-permeable. Now see,
Yeah.
this is what which makes cell membrane very interesting, because to have selective or semi-permeation, you need to be alive. Got my point?
Okay.
Nothing could
Yeah.
be semi-permeable without having a life within them. How can you selectively allow and disallow? Right? So either
Yeah.
you have got some modern technology. I will not say that it's not possible. Either you have got a technology, like if I'm saying about like have you got a basic idea about positive and negative ions?
Yes. 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 Yeah.
Yes. So the
Anions
positive
and
and negative
cations.
ions
Yes.
could be filtered by applying an electromagnetic wave. Okay, or a magnetic wave. Are you getting my point? So that is a different
Yeah.
kind of permeability pattern, but the type that we are going to talk about in biology is only possible when a cell is alive. Okay, and the cell is alive and the cell membrane along with it is also alive. Got my point? Because this
Yeah.
alive means that, or this semi-permeability means that it will allow only specific molecules. Got my point? So that means
Yeah.
that if we are talking about only specific molecules, this term, why is this so important? Specific. Specific means very, like, what do we say? What could be the translation for specific? Specific means like very particular about some things. Like if I am saying that I have got a cell membrane. Okay, now this cell membrane has got a lot of units. We are going to talk about that in our later parts. It has got a lot of units, and one unit is designed in a way that it will only allow calcium ions to move inside. Okay, so you
Hmm.
cannot expect this unit to do any other task. It won't transport potassium ions, it won't transport H2O molecules. Okay, so whatever comes in front of this, if it is not calcium, it won't let it pass. Got my
Hmm.
point? So
Okay.
this is so
Yeah.
specific. So to become that specific, you need to be alive. So you got my point? So cell membrane is a live membrane. We call it as a live membrane because it is alive. Okay. And then why semi-permeable? Because it will only allow specific molecules to pass through. Easy? Got my
Hmm.
point?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got
So
it now.
yes. So see, what happens is like when we write cell membrane, we say that cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. So now you understand what is semi-permeable also?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, got my point. Okay. Now if like see, this is a cell, consider this as the nucleus, this is your cell membrane. If I zoom into this part, okay, like
Hmm.
we are going to study the structure of cell membrane. Okay, if I zoom into this part, what will I see? Like we have got several models for this, but the most accepted model is your fluid mosaic model.
Fluid
Okay,
mosaic. Okay.
fluid
Hmm.
mosaic model. Now see, understand my point. There are terms. Do you understand mosaic? What is mosaic?
Yeah, I do know what it is. Like, I mean, I don't
Like,
know what's the fluid mosaic model, but I understand what is
yes,
mosaic.
you understand mosaic. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so see, mosaic is some kind of flooring. Okay, like
Yeah.
let me tell you, like you have got a cement block, right? And now you put a small stones here. Okay,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they
Yes.
said
Yes.
you
Yes.
grind this off. Okay, so they come out as beautiful stones embedded in your floor. So that is called a mosaic. Now fluid mosaic model. Okay, so this is the most accepted model for the cell membrane. Okay, so what we see here, like if we zoom this part, you will see phospholipid bilayer. Okay, what will
Hmm.
you see? You
Okay.
will see phospholipid bilayer, which looks somewhat like this. Don't worry, I'll explain each and
Yeah.
everything. It might look
Yes.
complicated in a bit, but it's quite
Yeah,
easy.
but it's okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll understand.
Okay, so
Okay.
you have got some of these phospholipid bilayers, then you have got some of your integral proteins, and then this layer is getting repeated. Okay, so this layer is getting repeated.
Okay.
Okay, and you will also find some sort of proteins which are embedded here also. Okay, now let's try to understand this thing. I'll just rub this part off. Okay, so let's talk about these things. What are these blue things? We call them as phospholipid bilayer. Phospholipid bilayer.
Okay.
Okay, now this red one is your integral protein. Okay,
Integral protein.
this is
Okay.
your integral protein.
Hmm.
Okay, and the green one that I marked is your structural protein. Structural protein. Okay, now let's understand each one of these things one by one. Let's move to the phospholipid bilayer. See, if I zoom into this thing, how will this look? This is a head. Okay, this is a head-like thing, and you see two tails emerging from it. One will be short, one will be long, or you can
Yes.
make them of the both size. Okay, the same size also. So this is called as your polar head. Okay,
Polar head. Okay.
polar head. Okay, so this is your what? This is your phosphorus ion. Okay, let's not move out of the circle. I'll write PO4 minus. Okay, so this is what your
Okay.
phosphorus. This is, let me
Yes,
write this.
yes.
It's phosphorus.
Phosphorus ion.
Yes, this is
Okay.
phosphorus ion. And these two are your lipids. Lipid tail.
Okay.
Okay, this is your lipid tail. Got my point? So this is what your
Yes.
one unit of this, and how it looks like if you draw one more like this. Okay, so you see, you understand, one of this
Yeah,
unit
I'm
is
getting
called
it.
as a phospholipid because polar head made up of phosphate, and
Yes.
what we have
And
got, we have
lipid.
got lipid tail, so we write it as phospholipid. Okay, and see, there are
Hmm.
two layers, one layer is above and one layer is below, so we call it as phospholipid bilayer.
Oh, okay. That's the meaning
Okay,
behind the
so
name.
this is
Right. Okay.
phospholipid. One unit is called phospholipid, and we have got two layers, so we are calling it as an phospholipid bilayer. Got my point?
Yeah,
Everything
I
is
got
clear?
it.
Okay, now I'll
Yeah, it's
move some
pretty
to
like
the,
easy now.
yes, now let's move some to the chemistry part. Okay, so
Hmm.
have you ever heard of this statement that polar dissolves polar and non-polar dissolves non-polar? Like water is a
I've not
polar
heard of
solvent.
the phrase, the statement, but I'm like I get the idea,
Yes,
kind
you
of.
got the idea. So see, water is a polar molecule, so it will
Yes, yes,
dissolve
yes.
in polar solvents, right?
Yeah.
But like
Hmm.
oil is a non-polar thing, so oil will not dissolve in water, but oil will dissolve
Yeah.
in another oil. Got my point? So in the
Yes.
similar
Yeah.
way, what I'm trying to tell you is we have written here that we have got a polar head. Okay,
Hmm.
polar head, that means this will be attracted to water.
Yeah.
A polar thing will be attracted to water,
Yes, it will.
and anything which is attracted to water, what do we call them as?
Um,
Hydrophilic. Hydrophilic. See, philic
hydrophilic.
means
Okay.
philic means loving. Hydro means water. So hydrophilic basically means water loving.
Water. Oh, okay. Hmm.
Okay. So this is water loving head. What will the head want? That yes, give me more water. As much as water
Hmm.
that I can take, give me that water. And if you move to the tail, what do we have here? We have got lipid. Lipid is what? Lipid
Yeah.
is some sort of oil. Okay, fats and lipids. You have always read in biology, fats and lipids. So what are fats?
Yes.
The butter that you eat, the oil that you eat is basically fat. So that is also lipid.
Hmm.
And you know that oil always repels water. Yes, oil will never
Yeah.
want to mix with water. If you all try
Yes.
to dissolve oil in water, it will float, right? So this
Yeah, it
lipid
will form a
tail,
top layer of the. Yeah.
yes, so this lipid tail will repel water. and anything which repels water, we call them as hydrophobic. Remember, water fearing,
Yeah.
hydrophobic. Okay.
Yes.
So a very common saying about phospholipid bilayer is that it has got a hydrophilic head. It has got a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail.
Yes.
Hydrophobic tail. Got my point? Is this clear about
Yeah.
phospholipid bilayer? Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
I got it.
I'm going to tell you a very interesting point. None of the
Mm.
transport occurs between these phospholipid bilayers. Let me tell
Oh,
you
okay.
what am I saying. I am saying
Mm.
that you cannot transport any mineral from this part. Okay. Wherever these
Yeah.
phospholipid bilayers are present, no transport will occur. Now I'll try
Mm.
to tell you that why is this happening. See, this head is polar. This head is polar,
Yeah.
right? So what
Yes.
it is trying to attract water. Okay. Let's
Mm.
assume
Yeah.
that we have got some water molecules. Okay, let me switch my pen. These are some water molecules. These blue ones are water molecules which are attracted here,
Yeah.
right? Now when they try
Yes.
to enter inside, these tail will repel water. These tails
Yeah.
are
They will.
these tails will repel water, so water will be vectored
Yes.
out. So you can say that a layer of water will be present here, but nothing will go inside. Got my point?
Mm.
Now see,
Yeah.
if a layer of water is present here, let's consider we have got a red lipid molecule. Okay, something which
Yeah.
is oily. When it will come to this point, this layer itself will repel it out.
Yeah.
Yes, so this lipid can also not get inside this phospholipid bilayer. So how does this transport occur now? Okay, this is like
Mm.
a major concern, because we have heard that semi-permeable membrane will allow certain things to pass through. Now, if no things
Yes.
can pass through this lipid bilayer, there might be some channels, right? And these channels
Yeah.
are these things that I made in red. These are your integral proteins.
Mm.
Got my point?
Okay.
These are your
Yeah.
integral proteins. Now, these integral proteins are going to transport your water molecules, your calcium ions, your mineral ions,
Yes.
all different type of things from outside to the inside and from inside to the outside. Okay, so you also have to
Yeah.
remember this. There is bidirectional movement. We call it as what? We call it as bidirectional movement, that the
Yes.
food and water will come inside and also move outside of the cell. So we call it as bidirectional flow of nutrients. Okay, we call
Mm.
them as bidirectional flow of nutrients. Got my point? So these are
Yeah.
your integral proteins. Now you might be wondering, then if all the transport is being done by these integral proteins, what are these structural proteins doing? Right? So if I am going to
Yeah.
tell you about these structural proteins, you might be seeing that they are present on the surface, right?
Yeah.
They are present. If I'm
Yes.
zooming into that part, they are present somewhat like they might be half embedded, or they could be like placed somewhere over here, right? So these are what?
Yeah.
These are only present on the surface. They are not going all the way down as our integral protein would do, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
are calling them also as surface proteins.
Surface proteins. Okay.
Okay, because they are present on the surface, you call them as surface proteins. So like if you forget this name also, this structural protein things, you can also name it as your surface proteins, because
Yes.
that's easy to remember. Okay, that's easy to
Mm.
correlate. It's present on the surface, so we are calling them as surface proteins. Now what things do these proteins do, right? So ever heard of
Yeah.
cell signaling? Like I'll give you an
Um.
example. You might have heard
Yeah.
that a person grows by the help of a growth hormone, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
so you might be wondering, the growth hormone is secreted in your hypothalamus, right?
Yeah.
And it is going to affect all over your body. Your bones are also
Mm.
growing, your muscles are also growing, your hair is also growing, your nails are also growing. So a hormone
Yeah.
which is localized in your hypothalamus, how could it reach all the cells of your body? Right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
almost all the cells of your body are affected by just a small amount of an hormone, growth hormone, right? So how does this happen? So see, these hormones induce certain signals. Okay, like the
Yes.
growth hormone sent a signal to my brain that yes, all the cells need to grow. Okay, now
Yeah.
these signals are picked up by these surface proteins. Okay, so they are also
Yeah.
called as cell signaling molecules. Okay, these are your
Cell
cell
signaling
signaling
molecules.
molecules, or more specifically, if you are not going to, like, if you are going for higher studies, or if you are going to be much more specific about these proteins, you can say that
Yeah.
these are receptor molecules,
Receptor molecules. Yeah.
right? So receptor
Yeah.
molecules, now see, the commands from the brain could both be electrical. Okay, the receptors could be electrical. Okay, or
Yes.
they could be chemical, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
there is a probability that if you are happy, you can see that we have got dopamine in our brain. So that dopamine chemical is absorbed by all the cells of your body, or that dopamine signals all of your body to be happy. Okay, the
Yeah.
reason why you become happy. Okay, so that type of response is what? Chemical. So we can write an example of
Yes.
dopamine. Okay, or you can say
Yeah.
any other, like testosterone also. Okay,
Yeah.
testosterone, or you can say adrenaline.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, you are in a stress situation, you automatically get a lot of energy. Now a very small amount of hormone can cast a very big impact, right? Why?
Yeah.
Because we have got
Definitely.
certain receptor molecules on all the cell membranes of all the cells. Okay, so we can send a signal
Yeah.
from our brain to navigate all our body. Got my point? So
Hmm.
that could be
Yeah.
a chemical response, or that could be an electrical response, as we are trying to, like, if you are trying to grab a thing. Okay, so there are electrical impulses from your brain that help your muscle move. Okay, so that type
Yeah.
of receptor molecules are called electrical receptors, and some chemical thing will be called as your chemical receptors. Okay, so this
Yes.
is how your cell membrane looks like, and these are all the functions. Okay, one more thing about, I think, okay, so when we are going in much detail, we will also try to understand, like, these structural proteins are also of different types.
Yeah.
Okay, so like if you are saying that this is a protein, now if I attach some lipid molecules over here. Okay, if I can attach,
Yeah.
like, let's make a structural protein and I'm adding some sort of carbohydrates here. Okay, so
Hmm.
that will be on a different note. Okay, those structural proteins can perform different functions if modified differently. Okay, now if
Yeah.
I'm talking about integral proteins also, let's talk about these also. These big molecules which are
Yes.
helping to transport the main things. Okay, these are the main units of transportation, and we term
Yeah.
them as integral proteins. Okay, the name itself,
Yes.
integral, that means it is integrated. Okay, now if you look at this is integrated, right? This integral protein is completely inside this membrane. If you remove
Yeah.
this, the membrane can collapse, right? It is a very integral part of that membrane. That's why we call them as integral proteins. Now these integral proteins could be of different types. Okay,
Yeah.
they could be containing your active channels, like for the ions. Okay, they could be of for
Yeah.
passive, and I'll give an example. One of the integral protein is your aquaporins. Ever heard of aquaporins?
I've not, but yeah, I've not heard of it.
Like, see, biology is some sort of terminology. Okay, so whenever
Yeah.
you hear a term that you haven't heard before, try to break it down. Okay, so like,
Yeah.
see,
Aqua
if you,
related to water, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
see, this is your aqua. Let's write aqua,
Hmm.
and this is what your porins.
Yeah.
Okay, aqua simply means water, and porin
Yeah.
simply means pores. Okay, so these are
Course.
what? H2O pores. Okay, these are the
Hmm.
channels through which water is carried inside and outside of the
Hmm.
cells. Okay, so this
Okay.
aquaporin is also a type of what? Integral protein. Got my point?
Hmm.
If you have ever heard about
Yeah.
calcium channels, right? Ever heard of calcium
Yeah.
channels? Calcium channels, or potassium channels, or sodium channels. All these
Hmm.
channels are some sort of integral proteins modified. They are called as gated ion channels. Okay, because they need ATP to work on, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when we are going to study in more detail, we will study about their functionality also, how do they work, right? So this was a
Yeah.
brief basic about your integral and structural proteins. And let me also justify the name. We had given this a name, the fluid mosaic model. Okay, so we
Yeah.
call this as, or the scientists explain this term as, icebergs of protein. These are what? Icebergs of protein
Yes.
float in
Okay.
sea of phospholipids.
Okay.
Okay, so you have got a sea of
Yeah.
phospholipids, and what is the integral proteins, or the proteins whichever are present, are what are type of icebergs, that they are in a random movement. So understood my point? The membrane is not
Yes.
fixed. The membrane is also like a sea, it's moving. Okay, and the proteins with itself is also moving. Got my
Hmm.
point? So this
Okay.
this fluid will be your phospholipid bilayer. This mosaic is your all the type of proteins. Got my point? So why this is why
Hmm.
it is called as fluid mosaic model. And now you also understand, since we have got this integral protein, it is protein is a very specific molecule, right? It has
Yeah.
got several types of funnels or several types of receptors through which it can detect that which molecule should go in and which molecule should remain out. Okay, so your
Yeah.
cell membrane is a living membrane and a semi-permeable membrane. Yeah, why? Because it has got integral proteins as the gatekeepers for the other molecules. Okay, whenever you
Yes.
forget a term or whenever you find something difficult, just move it to your general life. Okay, like if you have got a
Yeah.
house, you have got a watchman posted at your gate. Okay, to look after that who is coming and who is going out, so that no
Yeah.
robbers can get into your house or no unauthorized person can get into your house. So in the similar way,
Yes.
we have got here integral proteins which act as gatekeepers between like inside and outside the cell, that which all things are going in and which all things are coming out. Got my point?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so like let's stop this. This is for the demo part. Like if you are going to continue, do let expert buddy know. So from like how many days in a week can you take your class?
2 days a week would be suitable because I'm taking like four A-level subjects, so it would be really hard to manage like more. And
Okay.
the course I'm planning to finish it in December, because my school they're planning like specifically they specified for biology that they want to take one unit, the first
Okay.
unit in January, and the other two units in May or June. So
So,
that's the thing what they want to do.
okay, so
And
like which
hmm,
chapters? Okay, I'm trying to tell you that like till December, how many chapters do you need to complete, or the whole book
I
you are
mean,
trying to say?
like what we can do. I mean, obviously in the book they gave like four topics. So the first two topics are for unit one itself, and then the
Okay,
last
okay.
two are for unit two, and then unit three is the what's that called? The practical one. So I mean, at 4 months, if we can like finish it, will it be possible like for 1 month each unit? And then in the last month, we can recap unit one. So because I'll be giving the unit the next month, like you obviously will you be taking like test after each unit if we got like if it
Yes,
gets
yes, yes.
finished.
That's
Yeah.
not enough an issue. Like I have got some of the assessment papers also, so like I can create. I also make question papers like for the practice, the DPP kind of thing.
Hmm.
So if you want that, we can also
Yeah.
do that also. And I think till December, in a month, how many classes we are going to get? Like if you are taking
Eight.
2 classes per week, so you are going to get 8 hours, right? Yes. So 8 hours would be enough for topic one. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. We can do
Yeah,
that.
topic one
No
and two.
issues.
Yeah. So, I
Topic
mean,
one
even
and
if
two.
like,
Yes.
topic gets delayed, we can take like class from the next month. I mean, like, even if we have like six classes left in December, let's say you like from the previous month's two classes has been taken. So in
Okay.
December, just like for topic three, we're just recapping and I mean, we're just finishing it at unit three. And then in the six classes are left. So I mean, we have to just recap unit one, with the paper practice and all of these things. So I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
it
no
will be
issues
enough
with
because we
that.
have already
I
studied it.
have already got many question papers regarding regarding this topic one, two,
Okay.
three, and four, because like I told you that the entire course is exactly same, right? With a
Yeah.
certain few modifications in your practical part, or a
Yeah.
certain
Definitely.
concepts are being added or removed. So that's not of that issue. I will be providing you with a proper question paper, both for your multiple choice questions and some sort of writing also. So we'll do that. We'll practice those questions. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, and obviously, like I mean, one thing is that, being ahead of the school, I mean, the school, I mean, their pace, it depends what it is, but Like they will obviously, the school system, I mean, in October or November, I'm not sure, they take their, midterm tests and all of that. And then probably in
Yes, yes.
December, they would just take like, what is that called? A final exam. But I'm not sure like what the syllabus and all, like, I mean, not being the syllabus is the same, but what they will include in those tests. Probably in the, the midterm, they would have just include the first unit, some chapters, whatever is done, because it will only be like a month. So obviously they'll you do the first unit by then, or it
Yes,
depends
yes, the cell
what they're gonna
structure
do.
part. The cell structure part, or I can say if they are like at a very good pace, they can move to mitosis, meiosis. So like yes, we will be
Yeah.
completing them on time. Don't worry about that. Yes, the
Topic
initial
one is
chapters are like the
basically
initial
the.
chapters are some basic
Mhm.
concepts that like I just need to recall them. You might have read about them in your previous classes, so it's not of that
Yes.
importance. Like we'll just recall them off and we can like quickly finish off those chapters.
Yeah, the first chapter, I believe it's the chemistry of life, and then the transport systems, and then the cardiovascular health risk. That's like the first chapter.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, I mean, some things are new in that, of course, but this one, which you taught, it was actually very new to me. I mean, the cell membrane, obviously, that's the basic, but then the fluid mosaic model, but it was really good. Like, I mean, I got an idea of it, like, even it was just like 30 minutes, but it was, pretty interesting as well. So
Okay.
yeah, it was good. But we'll update you about it. So I hope like any other plan if you have like maybe in the because in these 4 months I want to cover it, and then after that if I will be willing to take like more sessions, just for unit 2 and 3, of course,
Yes,
because
yes.
MCQs and theoretical part is together in unit 1 and 2, and then the third one is ATP. Like actually when I got my IGCSE results, so first my my MCQs part was very weak before, like when I was doing
Okay.
mocks and all, like I was getting 24 out of 40, like very low marks. And theoretical part I was like okay, and the ATP part I was getting like full marks and all that, I mean, and the school exams and all. But then when I actually got my the marks and all, so theoretical part, it was fine, it was normal. But then the MCQ, surprisingly, I got like 38 out of 40, like only two mistakes. So, like I was very surprised. I was like, I actually improved. Obviously it's like yeah, MCQ is like yes or no, basically.
Yes,
But
yes,
the
yes, yes.
ATP part was the one that, pulled it down. Like, I think it's the lack of, experiments and all that. I mean, obviously schools would not have a lot of the samples and all, but I hope for ATP and all. I mean, alternate. It's like a written practical basically for Unit 3 as well.
Okay.
So we have like the
Like see
online.
for the practical part also, like see,
Yeah,
I will also be not be able to tell you everything about the laboratory. Okay,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
can give you a basic about why that thing is happening, or why we are adding certain chemicals, why we are not using this and that. So that part of the thing, if you read the theory good, you can perform in practical good. That's my
Yeah,
thinking. Like if you have a very good knowledge about anything, and if you haven't done that experiment also, and if you are going to the lab for the very first time, then also you will perform very
yeah.
nicely because you have a very good concept on that thing. Getting my
Yeah,
point?
definitely, of course. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
I mean, we won't have to perform it. It will just be a written, like, how we have like the other
yes, yes, yes,
theoretical parts. I
the
think that's
conceptual
what I
ones.
lacked in. Yeah. Those, I mean, sometimes, I'm not really good at drawing, like, in general. But for biology,
Okay,
like, what we got, we used to get like like, let's say they gave us an apple or like an insect to draw in the paper, and then we just had
okay,
to draw like a certain part of it, just like the outer rail, like the outer membranes and all. We just had to draw, but then it
okay.
gradually improved. But I think the writing part was the problem, like the steps and all.
No
That's
issues, no issues. We will work on
yeah.
that. You have got time. We will work on that, and we can improve those things also. No issues with that.
All right.
Okay, so do let me know about the classes. Okay, you can talk
Yeah,
to
sure.
expert buddy about that, and do let me know.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.